This LIV Golf Tour, this LIV Golf Tour, has made an attempt to threaten or cut into the PGA's monopoly, if you will.
Yes, and LIV stands Roman numeral for 54 because they play 54 holes.
54 holes, and that's why it's called the LIV Golf Tour. But what they've done is they've taken Saudi money, which is somewhat tied into an effort to perhaps assassinate a journalist. And I was reading about it today and try and connect these dots as best I could. But it's kind of a whole separate topic is where the money is coming from. But the fund that is funding the LIV Tour is worth $600 billion.
Good grief.
Yep.
Wow.
So what they've done is
I don't know if you knew this. The Middle East,
Yep.
there's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Money and oil.
Yep.
And other things.
So the LIV Golf Tour has reportedly given Phil Mickelson $200 million to go play in it. They've given Dustin Johnson $125 million to play in it. And, okay, so they've tried to go out and get some of the bigger names. Neither of those guys are in the top 50 of the current money list. They are both probably in the top
10 for names. Yeah.
10 for name recognition.
Yeah, if you have a golf tournament and those two are in the tournament, I think you're already saying, well, we got a pretty good field, even though, as you said, neither are really.
They're not really winning at this point, and they're not. I mean, Phil's been out. There's that, too.
Between them, we got a bunch of majors.
Yeah. I mean, what we're discussing here is, those are the two big names. And then there are others that have name recognition. Louis Oosthuizen, Sergio Garcia, Ian Poulter,
Charles
Martin Keimer,
Schwartzel.
Charles Schwartzel, Kevin Na.
Kevin Na just joined, yeah.
Yeah.
Not a huge name, but yeah.
Can they threaten the PGA Tour? Is this a threat to the PGA Tour? Or, I'm going to say this because you wouldn't think so, but is it a threat to the popularity of professional golf? And the reason I say that is because I hearken back to Carton IRL. And I brought it up yesterday with somebody who's much more schooled in open wheel racing than I am.
Mm-hmm.
And his response was, exactly. That this could hurt the popularity of professional golf. Now, I'm not predicting that. I don't know that that's where this ends up. But when you start taking the marquee, and there's similarities and there's differences. But when you start taking some of the marquee names, if they get enough and we have two weekend tours, are we hurting the game?
Well, I'm hoping that this isn't like that. This is more like the USFL and the NFL in the early days, where they can both coexist as long as people understand and stay in their lane and don't try to overtake. But if you're the LIV Tour, why wouldn't you try to get more golfers and bigger name golfers? Because as we said, it's great to have Phil and Justin or Dustin Johnson, but they're not the best golfers out there right now. PGA Tour needs to be worried if they're going to come after, Justin Thomas or John Rahm or Will Zalatoris. These the future of golf. That's where you're going to be concerned about. Scotty Scheffler and those guys. And I hope that doesn't happen, but I can't. I mean, the way things are right now, it feels like it's based on the way the media is reacting, or I should say some media members have reacted. They're making this out to be like the most egregious act in the history of mankind, that Phil Mickelson is going to accept the blood money and go to the LIV Tour, that Dustin Johnson is doing the same thing. And in reality, it's a job like any other job. And if you think that's blood money, then how about the NBA's association with China? I mean, you can make a case against every major sport because of dealings they have with other countries. So it's a little bit unfair to go all high and mighty here and you're not doing it there, or you're going to turn a blind eye to something else. So really, let's just focus on it's a rival tour. Can they hurt the PGA? They can destroy the PGA if they get those other players, because clearly they're offering more money and they're not having anywhere near as many golfers. So what this league could end up being in the worst case scenario for the PGA is the Elite Tour. They could end up getting all the greatest golfers, and now they've got their own Elite Tour, and the PGA ends up being like the Korn Ferry.
Well, I guess. I mean, the one thing the PGA has is the events. I mean, the PGA Tour goes to, and the players. I guess these players that are playing a LIV Tour can still go play.
Well, maybe
is that because if they are banned from the Masters, if the USGA bans them from the U.S. Open, if I'm going to assume the Royal NNA or whatever it is that does the British Open, if they decide that if you play in this tour, you can't come play in the majors. I think that is where players will go, whoa. And
maybe, but as it stands, I mean, because there is a difference between the PGA and the USGA, which is why the U.S. Open is different, and because it's kind of separate from the PGA. But with the Masters and the British Open and the PGA Championship, I mean, they do have exemptions right now. If you've won on those tours, if you've won that event, that you've got exemptions. And you can play. Like Dustin Johnson right now says, I fully expect to play in the majors until I'm told otherwise. He might be told otherwise. And then it's a decision. But at that point, I mean, in the careers of Phil Mickelson and Dustin Johnson, they've done just about everything you can do. So does it really matter to them that they're going to, if they get banned from playing those, because they're going to get paid over $100 million to play in this other tour for a year? I don't know if they'll care as much. I mean, Dustin Johnson basically said, look, I'm making this decision what's best for me and my family, and I don't begrudge him for doing it. I'm kind of looking at it with a little bit of a sad eye because I don't want the PGA to be destroyed, and I think this has the potential to really knock it down, because if the LIV Tour is a hit, and let's say that they only use 50 golfers in a tournament, as long as it stays at 50, it might be okay. But if that number goes, if they double that number, if they start turning into this totally alternative tour that puts on, 40 events a year instead of whatever they have, like 12 events scheduled.
I think it's 8.
Or whatever. Yeah, for the first year, I think it's 8. But maybe next year, I think it jumps up because the first event is coming up this week. But if they end up swallowing up more golfers and allow more golfers to compete on a weekly basis or on a tournament basis, then that's where things really start to crumble for you.
Now, here's what I'm not sure of. And again, we're not. But when you're handing somebody $200 million just to come play, I don't know that that's great for the sport. And Phil Mickelson has outside sponsors, but he doesn't get $200 million to go to play in the John Deere, right? I mean, you don't get appearance fees. Just
so you understand, Dustin Johnson has made $75 million on tour. Now that doesn't include his sponsorships. That's just prize money, $75 million.
Yep.
But he's going to get paid $125 million. That's the report to play in this tour for like 1 year.
I mean, I worry a little bit about when you've already cashed in.
But this is why I say I'm hoping this is more USFL than it is CART, because USFL went out and they paid players right away, right? They went out and they got the Herschel Walkers and the Jim Kellys and the other great players of that time to jump from college, Steve Young, to jump from college to go to their league. What's that?
They had Reggie White.
Yeah, they had Reggie White. They had a bunch of really good, Mike Rozier, had a bunch of really good players at the time that they paid a lot of money for. That people were like, whoa, that's kind of how this feels. But USFL blew it after a few years because they decided we're going to take on the NFL in their own season.
I don't really
Instead of being an alternate league, they became a rivalry, a rival league, which was dumb.
Don't remember the details, but one rogue owner made some really bad business decisions, and then they kind of buried the league.